I think the Indian startup ecosystem is maturing now. 5 years down the line, what it was to 5 years now, where it is. Uh, Evidence and numbers show that they're uh, becoming better and better. You don't get, there are still some Me Too startups and all and everything, but most of the time, we are now getting startups who are trying to solve a problem worth solving. And investors are also getting matured in terms of the way they are looking at investments, looking at valuations, looking at startup founders. I think few biases have gone back. So, there was that bias of coming back from Ivy Leagues institutions only. If you're from Ivy League, whatever idea you've got, we are going to fund you and everything. Those days are gone. So this is good news, in general for the Indus startup ecosystem. It's a long way to go, but yeah, it's in a much, much better shape, and it's progressing in the right direction. Obviously there are hiccups, and that's just part of the entire ecosystem. And most importantly, you see, both central and state governments are also extending their support into the ecosystem. That means that people are becoming aware about the startup ecosystem nowadays. And to answer to the next part of the question is that how was today's? I think one of the things I enjoyed was the kind of questions the startups were asking. My idea was not startup students were asking. My idea of this session was to provide them some insight on, there's no magic formula for startup success. It's all about best practices, what you should do and how you should go about it. And just wanted to touch base on that and few of the aspects which helps them in understanding what it is, what does it take to be a successful startup. And what I enjoyed most was the kind of questions that students asked. It felt like they have actually gone through the entire session today, and they were made to think. See, one of the things, and I talked about this in my session, is what we call as entrepreneurial mindset or effectual thinking. Entrepreneurial mindset is something that you need to have even if you're doing a day-to-day or 9-to-5 job, because and it's more specific to law students because you would be having your own practices, and those are as good as having your own businesses. And every time you're doing your business, you have to understand the nuances of an entrepreneurial venture. And also in the legal sector, a lot of disruption is required. We all know how dated the entire system is. And to bring in disruption, you need to first understand how do you go about it. And that's why, as lawyers, you also need to understand the nuances of entrepreneurship, how it is done, so that one of you can disrupt the industry, and some of you actually can. Not all will be entrepreneurs, but some of you can disrupt this industry. And you would be also working with startups. That is more important, because a lot of you would be working with startups. They are very different than normal corporate affairs. If you don't understand how the startup world works, it would be very difficult for you to work with the startups. And that's why for both the scenarios, you do need to understand the nuances of entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial journey of a startup. This is a wonderful initiative, and I think this should be welcomed by everyone, and every law student in the country should participate in this, because this and the most important factor is the kind of speakers they're getting, the people who are getting on board. And the initiative is to help you understand the nuances of entrepreneurship. This initiative gives you a hands-on hands-on view on how the ecosystem works. Because Many of you might not have a basic understanding of the entire ecosystem. As I said earlier also, that it not necessarily that all of you will be entrepreneurs, but many of you at some stage of your life would be of these people who would be working with startups, and they need to understand that. And this is a very, very welcome initiative. I really appreciate I really appreciate support and kind of hats off to GCI for doing this initiative. And it makes sense, and there should be more initiatives like this. People should take a cue from GCI what they're doing.